All right, good Wednesday afternoon. I believe it's Wednesday. I'm getting my days mixed up, but it is November 12th, that we know, year of our Lord 2025. We're a little past 4 o'clock here in Amarillo. We're taking a live look outside at our sky cam there in Friona. Looks like a few people utilizing the track there around the football field. Otherwise, it is a comfortable afternoon here in the Texas Panhandle. Let's take a look at those temperatures right now. 75 here in the Yellow City. 78 down in Clovis, 72 in Boise City up there in the Oklahoma Panhandle, and Childress, you guys pretty warm at 77. Winds are from the south-southeast. They're a little stronger than they were yesterday, around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Most of them in that 10 to 15 range, but still, that is very calm even for our standards here in the high plains. If you missed it last night, a lot of people, I mean, a lot of you guys sent in some photos there through Chime In. We'd certainly appreciate that. And if you don't see your picture listed here, we're going to try and get it shown here over the next couple of hours. But this is from Mike Martinez over in Logan, New Mexico. You can see again, big red hue there on the northern horizon. Haley over in Amarillo also sharing some photos. This is in what appears to be inside the city limits. I mean, it was a very bright color, mostly just a red glow on the north horizon. We had several substorms yesterday, one even early this morning, according to one of our storm chasers, Blake Brown. But the ones that we most notably saw were between about dark and a little after 11 o'clock. This is from Amber Harrison there in Booker. You can see she had a nice shot there of the Aurora Borealis. Caitlin Wagner as well in Miami. And it was actually seen as far south as Mexico. This was a very, very potent Aurora Borealis last night. We'll see if we can maybe get another display tonight. I don't know if it's going to be a guarantee. Really will come down to when that next coronal mass ejection reaches the Earth's atmosphere. Again, it could be tonight, could be early tomorrow morning, but for now, we're still kind of in a wait and see mode. But there was a very strong CME that was detected yesterday morning. It was an X class flare measuring at a magnitude 5.1, and so it was the strongest of the 2025 season for the solar cycle. It was the sixth strongest of the entire solar cycle there from 24 to 2025. So we'll see if we can maybe get that to impact us tonight and timing out well with it being dark outside. But this is a quick time lapse there from Channing. I just want to go ahead and show you this. I mean, it was a really spectacular display. This is up there in the northwest panhandle. You can see some of those green hues there close to the horizon. Those reds are much higher off the ground, so that really kind of lit up the entire horizon. Those reds you see typically are in that 60 to 150 miles above the ground range. There's not a whole lot of oxygen there. Most of your light gets scattered, and so that's why you see a lot more of those reds, because your greens and your blues are a shorter wavelength, and so those don't tend to last as long. And then those greens also associated with the oxygen, but again, a little bit closer to the surface, in that 20 to 60 mile above the ground, and just a little bit more oxygen to interact with. But they discharge those visible light wavelengths, RGBs, and that's again just one way that we can tell that our atmosphere is protecting us as it continues to absorb and eat up some of those charged particles that are discharged from the sun. But yeah, very beautiful time lapse there. We'll watch it one more time. You can even see a few of those light pillars there in red early on in that time lapse. So here's the overall forecast for tonight. If it verifies, I think we'll have another opportunity to even see these with the naked eye tonight, so long as you're outside of the city limits. If you're out there, in downtown Amarillo, probably not going to see anything with the naked eye. You're really going to have to get away from town and away from a lot of the light pollution in order to witness this. Now, you're going to want to look on that northern horizon. Your best bet's still going to be with a camera using the night mode on your phone. Try and hold really, really still. That way it's not blurry. Or if you've got a really good camera, you can take some long exposure shots with those as well, which those end up producing some of the better photos, just because, again, those are more high quality camera. But lows for tonight will be chilly. So if you're going to go out, take your jacket with you. Make sure you've got a way to stay warm. You're going to want to try and dress in layers. It's not bad right now. And again, maybe shortly after the sun goes down won't be bad either. But as we get further into the overnight period, those temperatures will continue to cool off. So just make sure you have a way to stay warm. Let's go ahead and run through the computer model and talk about the weather here in the Panhandles. It is going to be hot moving into the tail end of this week. In fact, we might even see some record high temperatures potentially in jeopardy here in the high plains. We've actually got forecast highs to climb into the upper 70s and low 80s tomorrow. Amarillo's record high is 81. on Thursday, and it is 83 on Friday. I'm not saying that we're going to set a new record, but it could be possible. You can see those temperatures pretty mild even early on as we climb well into the low 80s there on Friday afternoon. But if you've got some of those playoff games still going on, your team made it into the after the regular season into round one or round two of the playoffs, depending on which state you're in, it's definitely going to be a fairly quiet night on Friday night here in the high plains. Here's our next weather maker. This is kind of a higher interest situation for us. We've been stuck in this very warm, very dry pattern for the better part of 45 days now. Really, all of October was pretty dry. This whole first half of November has been hot and dry. We've had a couple of fronts come through with the northwest flow, but aside from that, there's really not been a whole lot to talk about weather-wise. In terms of active weather, it's just been sunny and very warm, which some people are okay with. I mean, record heat in November, much easier to handle than that record heat in the dead of summer. But you can see we've got this big trough, and there's, again, several pieces of energy and some shortwave perturbations embedded in this mean flow. This isn't our subtropical jet stream. This is the overall jet, and it's going to take a pretty big dip south moving towards that third week of November. Now, where that trough inevitably sets up is going to determine if we're in the dry slot, if we are in the precipitation band of any of these systems. So this is Monday. This is the first system. And unfortunately, its placement is still pretty far north. I mean, that thing's centered right there over eastern Colorado. And usually you get these big dry slots with these upper level lows and these closed lows, more specifically with these mid latitudes cyclones. Unfortunately, I think that one is not going to provide us with any rainfall. We still are hanging on to a very slim sliver of hope, but for now, a lot of our ensembles are really just suggesting that we'll be in the dry slot of this first system. Now, this one, there are a few models suggesting it could be a bit further to the south, and so time will tell. Again, it's still about 6 to 10 days away as well. But that door is open. This pattern usually means it will be more active, even if we're not talking about rain or snow. We're still talking about probably some windier days coming through and some cold fronts as well, especially the windy weather in the dry slot. Some fire weather conditions may start to become more pronounced and more common. Excuse me. Moving into the back half of November, should we inevitably get in the dry slot of the storm systems. So definitely need to keep our focus on it, but what we'll be talking about inevitably is going to just come down to the exact track of those low pressure centers. So here's our temperature outlook in the 6 to 10 day time frame. This is November 18th through the 22nd. You can see those temperatures are forecasted to be warmer than normal. Average high being about 61 here in Amarillo, normal low being 33, and odds are we should be above that. At least that's the threshold that we're looking at. Now, this is what, again, is probably going to get most people excited here in the high plains. The Climate Prediction Center has given us a 60% probability to be above average in the 18th through the 22nd time frame. So they are leaning towards us probably having a more wet pattern, especially compared to what's considered average. Now, our threshold here in the Panhandle is very, very low. We are still on the border edges of the desert Southwest, and we do go into a dry season moving into the winter months. And so our threshold is only 15 hundredths of an inch of rain or precipitation, whether that just be a liquid equivalent of snow. Sometimes we do get to deal with that in November as well. Given our temperatures next week, probably would be a cold rain if we do end up seeing anything at all. So here's that 7-day tracker. Again, it's, I think, still needing to be monitored at this point. I think the back half of next week will be the better chance for some precipitation, especially moving towards next weekend from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But for now, we're going to hang on to that slim chance on Sunday, Monday with the first system. Looks like that second system towards the end of the week, though, may be the overall better situation for us in terms of trying to tap into some moisture. As far as temperatures are concerned, near term, it's going to be hot. It is going to be more of a breezy afternoon. We're going to see the temperatures heat up in the middle of the day. Winds should pick up in the afternoons in that 10 to 20 range. It's not going to be full-fledged critical fire concerns. It's going to be elevated. But we did have someone accidentally, at least hopefully was accidental, start several fires down in Deaf Smith County off of 214. They were, again, driving down the highway, whether they were dragging a tow chain or a trailer with some metal behind it, dragging the ground. Something was causing sparks, and it did create 3 wildfires there in southern Deaf Smith County earlier this week on Tuesday. We are expecting similar conditions on Thursday and Friday, and the western panhandles did see quite a bit of rainfall this summer. The fuel loading, I would imagine, is going to be above average this winter. Texas A&M Forest Service haven't done their surveys yet to give us a full understanding of what exactly the fuel loading is going to be for this winter. But that stuff is probably underway right now, and if it's not, it will be very soon. And the grass has gone dormant in most cases. So we're starting to see that with the lack of rain over the last 45 days, our grasses are becoming receptive, and there's more than likely more than normal out there given how wet we were this summer. So it's just something to think about and to be cognizant of. Make sure you're avoiding those activities that could start a fire. Don't put the cigarette butts out the window, put them in the ashtray. If you're pulling a trailer, make sure that those chains aren't dragging the ground. Make sure nothing on the trailer is dragging the ground. 9 out of 10 fires that start here in the high plains that are wildfires are caused by us as humans. So as long as we're doing our part to mitigate those fire starts, it is still, even though the conditions are present weather-wise, can be a quiet day. But as you guys know, it can get windy and it can get very dry here. And if a fire does get going in that environment, they are very hard to contain. So just make sure that you're doing your due diligence. That is all we have for you this afternoon. Thank you so much for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget to hit that like button.